I've been living also for the last 2 days a very sad tragedy where I lost one of the energetic and strong ladies, a parliamentarian from Somalia, Honorable Amina. I worked with her in the women parliamentarians in the IGAD region. She was killed in a very sad suicidal bomb in Somalia. And I think this is very relevant to the topic also when we see an energetic and a promise, actually, women leader, just to die like that. We, all of us, maybe we are aware that Somalia is going for election. And the book also narrated that our conflict in the region, some of them are political and some are ethnic or based on various issues that were divided into the 5 sectors. So I wanted really reflecting also and relating the loss of Honorable Amina to the importance of the topics that we are discussing today. I'm humbled also to have been selected among the 5 deputy speakers. We have 3 in the National Legislative Assembly and 2 deputy speakers in the Council of State. And one of the articles in the book was about the management of gender bias in the region. So I don't know about the recognition due to me, but I appreciate, because the first time when the high table was sitting here, and I was seeing out of 8, 0 women. And I said, this is really something that I think the region need to take seriously, because I don't know if it was just a coincidence, or is it a question whether the IGAD, the UNMIS, and the AU, and the CEWARN itself decided to bring all the men, or it is that those positions, actually, because they came by virtue of their positions. So I think it's something that we need to take serious, because, and I remember Rabab is sitting there when every time we were lobbying IGAD and JMAC, telling them the 35 affirmative action, we were telling them, you start by yourself, and even to the UNIMIS, we want to see at least this gender representation is also, yes, it's implemented also at your levels. But all in all, I'm humbled to be recognized and to be invited to this, just to share also my thoughts on the book. I received the invitation on the 22nd, so I don't want to lie to you. I've screened the 216 divided into 5 sections and the 28 articles. What honestly I liked the most was also the honesty in reporting about the efforts. Of course, the initiative itself is very noble. When we talk about the whole thing is around the early warning and early response system. It's not only early warning, but the response is there. So having some initiative at the 4 levels, starting with the regional one, that is the CEWARN, and then the national at the national levels, where Honorable Shuarambang is chairing the steering committee, and that is the SWERO. And then we go to the state level and the community level, that is maybe at the, we can call it at the county or the Payams and Boom, in our case in South Sudan. I think the first thing that I can say that I like the most about the book is the element of documentation itself. Because when we document experiences and knowledge, then we are sharing it, and knowledge is power, and it is resources also. So I think it is something that should be appreciated, and we thank the brains. Actually, if I cite the words of the editor, Mr. Paul, he said he acknowledged the brains behind the whole initiative of the CEWARN and the book itself. So I add my voice appreciating them. And one thing also I liked is that in one of the articles, they talked about the genesis of the CEWARN itself. They said that it was a pioneer group of women. Can you imagine? In Kenya, yes, who established a community-based group, and then they involved by then Ambassador Mahbub al-Muallim, and later on he was taken to be the executive secretary for the IGAD, and this is where he lobbied. And I think also those women, we should appreciate them because they were very strategic in selecting members to be part in the arena, because the presence of Ambassador Mahbub, I think, made the idea of early warning system to be adopted by IGAD by then. So I think I was also impressed by that, and this is what I mentioned earlier when I said I like the element of honesty by the reporters. They would have been silent about it, because even in our case in South Sudan, there are so many peace initiatives actually by women and process, but you will see that little actually is being documented about women contribution also to peace process. I don't want to be very biased in that, but I think it's something that I should appreciate the team of the writers for it. I mentioned also that the idea is noble because according to 2011 development report by the World Bank, they mentioned that most of all the countries, the resources that they have are destroyed by conflict. And it takes also several years for those countries to come back to their normal level of growth and to proceed. So if there are any initiative that actually can figure out some indicators, because actually even according to the writers, they are not the writers, but normally they say that early warning system does not necessarily tell predictions that the conflict will erupt in this particular date, but at least it tells indicators and gives data that may make an alert to the system that to pay attention and maybe to intervene, because having listening to the minister, he was indicating and making calls also for an intervention. So the question I made out of this, because when I was looking also to other similar structures like the EU early warning system, it is always a tool for decision making by the Council of the EU. So I thought also of throwing a question: is CEWARN maybe the information and the data that are analyzed at the regional level, do they serve as tools for decision making at individual countries, or we collect informations, they are compiled, they are analyzed, and then where do they go? I understood from the book also that other mechanisms in the IGAD are informed also by the information analyzed by the system, which is really good. In our case, coming to South Sudan, I look into I focus also a lot on the article shared by Taban, who is on our CEWARN team here. And you see that there are some gaps, and I think this is my contribution to, if I'm critiquing and giving maybe the positive and the negative. On the positive is that, yes, there are regular meetings, there are structures in many of the, at various levels, they are functioning, because I've been also sitting with in some of their meetings, and I can even recognize some of our the members from various structures of government. But the negative part of it is that you can see that the focus also is on some areas, mainly in Eastern Equatorial State. And this has been something that Honorable Chol, you can agree with me, that we have been raising. The focus was in Eastern Equatorial State, but you will see that the conflict in other areas is not paid that much attention. And according to Taban, he said that it's because of issue of prioritization. So to me, it was a question, because he was saying the center is not prioritizing the issues to be considered. And this, I was questioning, when we say the center, does it mean that the steering committee, where the Honorable Shuaramba, or maybe the center where the decisions are made? Because when they talk also about the conflict and give also the background to the conflict in Jungule, and to me also it was somehow interesting, because if you go to page 171, and I really wanted to read part of it. In conflict in Jungule, to me it was somehow interesting, because yes, he said here, yes, he said most of the raiding is ethnic and not political. One tribe raiding another tribe for livestock. And then there is where he said also politicians collaborate in selling cows. He said he was talking about committees. And when I was reading, just to, and I was thinking about the flow of the sentence, I thought, and I stand to be corrected, I thought he was, by committees here, he mean communities, because he's talking about politicians. He was saying they collaborate with their communities, selling cows across borders. They do not pay, so they do not pay tax. And then he said Jungule, unlike Eastern Equatoria, is a bit unique, because this is because there is a lot of intervention from politicians. And then I continue also quoting him. He said they have committees, and this is where I thought maybe they meant to say they have communities that oppose each others, and members of committee A fight members of committee B. They all collaborate in selling cows across the borders. There is something also I found. I think they mentioned something about the at the local level, where we have the peace committees. They said it should not be confused with the rapid response funds. And to me, I stand also to be corrected, and it was also mentioned by the article from Kenya, talk also about the rapid funds, but I feel myself that it was not, there was no much for somebody who is not from the swearer or swearing to understand what is it exactly. But as I mentioned earlier, maybe it is clarified somewhere that I could not come across it. On on coordination between the national and the local authority and the local level authorities. He said that I think there is also a gap, because in our case as South Sudan, the focus is mainly on the preference, but if we look at the current situation, even starting with the 2013, I stand to be corrected also whether there were some early warning reports by whether the regional or our national report on the political conflict, but I think they focus mainly on the other type, the ethnic and the cattle raiding and the other issues. So this is an observation also I have observed. They talk also about the challenge of bureaucracy that delay response into some cases at the local levels, that it take long to do response. But I stand also to question about the issues that happen also at the center itself, as in they call it the political concern. It was many speakers before me spoke about also because I was asked also to reflect on the relevance of the initiative to the current situation in South Sudan. And I think it is true, as it was mentioned, that the issue of maybe the rumors and the circulation of a lot of information that sometimes are not necessarily is an issue where I think, and I would recommend also, that we don't have maybe a channel where we get this, where should we get exactly official and correct information, because mainly we depend on social media, on circulations. And it is true when Dr. Guy mentioned that many of us receive calls and communications, maybe from relatives or friends. And I was every day, especially the last 2 days, I've been asked, why are you going to office? We heard that all the IO officers are not going to office, including Dr. Rek, but I told them my boss is, the speaker is from IO, and he's always in office. Even right now when I came here, I left him in office, and then I took permission that I'm coming to this meeting. So I think also an area that I would recommend is something to do with the rumors and the hate speech also on social media is not, nothing is done about it. And then the response also in our case, the response from the parties to the peace agreement. And I appreciate also, I think you can agree with me that the intervention yesterday by the president when he made the press conference, I think was very timely and was good, because we were almost panicking and when seeing and we were questioning. But at least it diffused some fears. It is correct that yes, there is an alarm, but I think when issues are raised and people are speaking about it, we have seen Dr. Riek wrote a petition, and at least he raised his concern, and the president responded. At least to me, this is my personal opinion, I think it is healthy, because at least we will hear, and there will be also some, maybe according to intervention from the authorities that they have talked to. So all in all, I want to appreciate the initiative, and once again, I want to thank you for having been invited to this forum, and I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you so much.